I'm here again with a horror movie. Today is Oddity. The story begins. Our heroine Dani, with her husband Ted Timmis, who works in a mental hospital. Let's talk about renovating the house. And with that, she called her sister, but her sister didn't answer the phone. Then Dani left a message saying we got in touch. At night, when Dani went to the car to get his clothes, she suddenly heard something, so she took a flashlight and shone it, but found nothing, so she went back inside and locked the door. Just when she was leaving, there was a strange sound at the door. She went over to make sure the door was locked, opened the small window on the door, a white-eyed man, standing furtively at the door, and tell Dani she's in danger. Let her open the door, but Dani is not stupid, didn't promise him. He told Dani again, when she just took the clothes. Someone came in, while she wasn't looking, but Dani thought he was joking, and warned him that her husband would be back any minute. Tell him to leave quickly, and this man said that her husband worked at night. Dani only understood after listening. This is her husband's patient, but the man was pretty sure someone had entered his house, and got Dani to call the police. Ready to open the door for him, without seeing the situation. The man on the other side is painting. He heard a strange noise coming from the door. When he opened the door, he seemed to have seen something terrible. Then he got under the bed. His door slowly opened, and the man was so frightened that he covered his mouth. Dare to make a sound. When the man hears no movement, he comes out to check. Then the man crouches down. He wiped the things he found on his body. There was a horrible body on the ground, and man hands, something like the white of an eye. This day, Ted Timmis came to visit Dani's twin sister Darcy. But because Darcy is blind, she didn't know it was her brother-in-law. And Darcy is a psychic. She likes to collect objects with curses. When Ted Timmis says hello to her, she just found out that it was her brother-in-law who came to visit her. Then Ted Timmis asked what she was playing with, and Darcy told him, this thing is also cursed, and there are ghosts on it. Just ring this bell. The ghost will appear, and kill the person who rings the bell. It was a foreshadowing, but Ted Timmis is an atheist. He thought what Darcy said was ridiculous. It was learned in the conversation between the two. Dani has been killed. Ted Timmis also told Darcy, the suspect who killed Dani is also dead, and handed over the suspect's belongings to Darcy. Just when Ted Timmis was leaving, Darcy learned from Ted Timmis. He found another girlfriend, and invited Darcy to his house when he was free. After a while, Darcy came home. She lit the candle with a match. Then she opened the relic. Then Darcy took off his gloves, and put his hand on the relic. It turns out that Darcy has a special ability, that is, through the relics of the deceased, to see images or thoughts of them during their lifetime. It came to Darcy's mind, the day her sister was killed. Only then did she realize, someone else killed her sister. Then she went back to her shop, found a strange box. The next day Ted Timmis was ready to go to work. His girlfriend Yana told Ted Timmis, he found Dani's camera in the warehouse, and there are many photos of the two of them in it. Then Yana called Ted Timmis over and showed him, take a picture of him in the past 2 days. Ted Timmis didn't find anything when he saw it, but Yana zoomed in, found Dani in the photo. Yana also told Ted Timmis, yesterday, when she was going to bed, she turned around and saw Dani, but when she turned on the light, Dani is gone again. Ted Timmis heard it and thought Yana was talking nonsense. He didn't believe her at all. When Ted Timmis gets ready for work, Yana told him her sister was here. When Yana came to the door, saw Darcy waiting outside, told Ted Timmis about it. Ted Timmis was surprised to hear that, so he got up to check. He wondered what Darcy was doing here. Then he took Darcy into the house, and introduced her to his girlfriend. Then Ted Timmis told Darcy, he's going to work tonight, and his girlfriend is going back to the city to live, so he couldn't entertain her. Just when Ted Timmis was about to send Darcy home, Darcy said she came and didn't leave. It doesn't matter if they're not here. Then Darcy came to the box, opened the box, and told Ted Timmis, here are her mother's relics. She's giving it to Ted Timmis. Then Ted Timmis explained something to Yana. Just went to work, and Yana turned her head. Just close that box. Tell Yana when Darcy sees it. This thing is made of wood, and it was her mother who was celebrating her 5th wedding anniversary, a witch gave it to her mother. Yana was confused. She's not married to Ted Timmis either. Why did she send this? After a while, Yana is leaving too. But then she turns around, found that box open, and the wooden figure was also taken out. Then she asked Darcy if Darcy took it out. Darcy said he didn't touch the box. Just as Yana was leaving, she found that the car keys could not be found. When she got to the 2nd floor, she still found nothing. Then Yana found Darcy, and tell her she can't go. And Darcy seemed happy. After a while, the two were eating. Darcy told Yana it wasn't the white-eyed man who killed her sister. It turned out that Dani didn't open the door that night, and the white-eyed man told Dani not to move. He went to the police himself. After saying that, these white-eyed men left. Dani didn't listen to him. She picked up a hammer and a flashlight. As she goes around fetching food, she saw her camera. She picks up the camera and goes into the tent. Just when Dani looked at the photo, she didn't notice anything unusual when she first started, but let Dani row. She noticed a strange man in the photo, standing by his tent. Dani was too scared to come out. When she opened the tent, the man suddenly appeared, then crouched on the ground with a hammer and looked at Dani. Then the man slowly walked into the tent. That's how Dani was killed. And Yana asked Darcy, but who killed her sister? Darcy took the white eye out and told Yana about her special abilities. The other side, this male nurse, Declan Barrett, asked about Darcy. Ted Timmis was surprised, because he didn't call his wife a twin. Tell anyone about this. Then Ted Timmis asked how he knew. Declan Barrett said he went to an antique store the other day, saw Ted Timmis' deceased wife, startled him, and this is the moment. Ted Timmis' phone is ringing. Declan Barrett also continued to walk out. It was Yana calling. She told Ted Timmis. Darcy says, the murderer of Dani was Declan Barrett just now. Ted Timmis looked shocked when he heard it. Then tell Darcy to let her go to bed first. He'll be back in a minute. When Yana hung up the phone, she bows her head, and the wooden figure was looking at her, scared Yana, and threw away her phone. Then Yana summoned up the courage to look down, and this time, the wooden man is back to normal. Then Yana went downstairs, come to the wooden man, pick up the phone. And then she wondered, why does this wooden man have such a big mouth? Yana sticks her head out, look into the wooden man's mouth, but didn't see anything. She picks up her hand again, ready to reach in, but just reach in a little bit. She got scared. Then Yana came behind the puppet. She found 5 holes in the head of the puppet, and also found something in it. She wants to take it out with her hands, but that hole is too small. So she takes out a pair of tweezers. Use tweezers to get things out. It was a used cable tie. Then she was in another hole. Found photos of Dani Darcy as a child. Then on the 3rd hole, found photos of Dani Darcy growing up. She glanced at Darcy, found Darcy still sleeping. So Yana started tinkering again. He found a tooth in the 4th hole. Yana felt very nauseous. Put it back. And on the 5th hole, she found a tube of fresh blood. Just at this moment, Darcy suddenly stood up and very strictly asked Darcy to put things back. And Yana heard that and she did it. I'm curious too. She can't see. How did she know? Then Yana said goodnight to Darcy. She went upstairs to sleep and deliberately turned off the lights. And Darcy sits across from the puppet and posed like a puppet. After a while, when Yana went to the bathroom, found Darcy asleep on the table. She went into the bathroom without much thought. When Yana looked in the mirror, the bathroom light was turned off. Just when Yana looked confused, the light was turned on again. Yana opened the door, found Darcy still sleeping, but she thought Darcy was faking it. She also thinks Darcy was responsible for turning off the lights just now. Then Yana came to the bedroom. She found herself unable to sleep. She just picks up the camera next to her and plays. She's in the camera. Found a video Dani took before. When Yana watched it for the first time, nothing unusual was found. Then Yana turned off the light and looked up again. But this time, Dani's ghost appears in the video. Yana saw this and quickly threw the camera away, and also saw Dani's ghost. Tell her to run. When Yana turns on the light, Dani disappeared. Then Yana ran downstairs, and she heard someone chasing her down the corridor. Then Yana took the knife from the side, stepped back slowly. She called out Darcy's name, but Darcy slept like a pig. Suddenly the box moved. Yana, go check it out. When she opened the box, she found her car keys inside. She grabbed the car keys and ran outside. But then suddenly, the power went out. Dani's ghost. She slowly walked out of the door. Yana drove off without thinking. And you run and you look back, afraid that Dani will catch up. After a while, Ted Timmis is home. He saw there was a power outage in his house, so he took a kerosene lamp out of the trunk and went inside. When he came to the living room, he only saw the wooden man, then go to the 2nd floor, and then he saw Darcy, kneeling on the floor in a very strange position. And Ted Timmis asked Darcy, where is Yana? And Darcy said, Dani scared her away. Ted Timmis also said, why are you sure his colleague Declan Barrett is the murderer? And the police have investigated the alleged offender. It's the dead white-eyed man. But Darcy seems to know everything, she said to Ted Timmis. In fact, the white-eyed man came to save Dani that day, and Darcy thought he was the murderer, so she killed the white-eyed man. Because Darcy at the time, she hasn't come into contact with the white-eyed man's relics. Darcy feels guilty, and Ted Timmis thinks Darcy is mentally ill, thinks she's talking nonsense. Darcy had a showdown when he heard that. She told Ted Timmis, although Dani was killed by Declan Barrett, but Declan Barrett was the one who ordered it. He's the man behind it all. Ted Timmis looked shocked when he heard it. The truth is slowly emerging. It turned out that shortly after the two got married, this scum Ted Timmis hooked up with Yana. He was afraid that Dani would find out, more afraid of losing the house, so he asked Declan Barrett to kill Dani. And the white-eyed man in the next ward just happened to hear it all. It turns out that Darcy glanced through that. She already knew the killer was Ted Timmis, but just kill him, let him lose everything, like his girlfriend and his house. And Ted Timmis is still talking, and he's afraid to admit that he's behind it. Then Ted Timmis told Darcy he left it here. Then he went back to the office and asked the police to call Darcy, and told Darcy to answer the phone when it rang. And then Ted Timmis left. After a while, the phone did ring. Darcy stood up slowly, but she didn't realize that it was right in front of her. A trap was opened, and it was Ted Timmis on the other end of the phone. It turned out to be Ted Timmis, while Darcy was talking, secretly opened the trap, and Darcy had no idea. When Darcy was going to answer the phone, he fell directly from the 2nd floor. After a while, A car arrived at the door of Ted Timmis, and it was Declan Barrett who came down. Declan Barrett comes into the house, also found the wooden man, and then he saw Darcy falling from upstairs, but he found out that Darcy was still alive. Then he called Ted Timmis and told Ted that Timmis found his phone, but it's broken, and it's the kind that can't be repaired. It's a metaphor. Ted Timmis was relieved when he heard it couldn't be repaired. Then Declan Barrett looked at Darcy. Darcy, raise your arm, said we got in touch, and they put their hands together, put it on her own chest, like some kind of ceremony, and that wooden man seemed to be sensed. Just as Declan Barrett was about to leave, he noticed that the wooden figure had changed positions, and still staring at him. When Declan Barrett was about to go downstairs, he heard the camera in the bedroom taking pictures of itself. He went over to check. There's a human face on the camera, and Declan Barrett didn't care. Keep going downstairs. When he came to the first floor, and the wooden figure had disappeared, he turns around. He found the wooden figure standing in front of him, and it moved. Declan Barrett is scared this time, run upstairs, and the monster came after him. When Declan Barrett came to the second floor, found no way out, as the monster gets closer to him, so he jumped off the second floor. But unfortunately, Declan Barrett broke his leg. The monster walked towards Declan Barrett step by step, and grabbed Declan Barrett's head and lifted him up. Darcy is also out of breath at this time, and that monster, looking quietly at Declan Barrett lying on the ground. The camera turns. Declan Barrett wakes up in the hospital, and Ted Timmis is looking right in front of him. Declan Barrett also discovered his own legs and feet were tied up, and Ted Timmis told him he's now a patient. Declan Barrett told Ted Timmis a wooden man attacked him, but Ted Timmis says he burned it. Why didn't it attack him? And tied Declan Barrett tighter. Then he walked out of the ward and took an extremely dangerous patient, released, and that patient ended up in Declan Barrett's room, bite down on his foot, if nothing else, and Declan Barrett is dead. Ted Timmis was on his way back today, called Yana, and Yana came up to break up with him, just hung up the phone. When Ted Timmis gets home, he found a courier at his door. He opens the package, found out that it was exactly what Darcy played before, that bell thing, driven by curiosity. Ted Timmis sat down in his chair and pressed the bell. He looked back and found nothing, and this is the moment. A burst of ancient music hit, and the ghost of a waiter standing next to Ted Timmis. So the movie ends. End of story. I hope you never encounter this scum in your lifetime.